That's not where we are, she said calmly. Omar frowned slightly, confusion creeping in. I thought... He started, then stopped. You thought what? She asked. He exhaled. I thought this was something serious. Mandreka studied him for a moment, not rushing her response. We're enjoying each other, she said. That's what this is. That's not serious to you? He asked. Not the way you're thinking, she replied. He sat up, more now, the shift fully settling in. We spend nights together, we talk, we connect. That doesn't mean anything? It means something, she said, but that's not how something serious starts. Her tone. She was different. She didn't look like the women he was used to. She didn't move like them either. There was something about her presence, something calm but commanding. Like she didn't need attention, but somehow it found her anyway. That alone made him lean in a way that terrified him more than heartbreak ever could. She was a contradiction in the most dangerous way. Humble, but confident. Open, but unreadable. Nurturing, but disciplined. Guarded, yet somehow safe. She didn't let people dictate her decisions, but she had a way of making them feel heard while she chose herself anyway. And more than anything, she knew how to love you while teaching you how to love her. That was new for him. Because Omar, the middle child of 5, raised in a house where structure was loose and attention was inconsistent, had never quite learned what it felt like to be fully seen. But something about Mandreka touched that part of him, quietly. Almost like healing, without asking permission first. The first time he saw her, she was handing her keys to the valet outside the hotel. Their company had sponsored a trip, HR divisions from all across California in one place. She stepped out of her car like she belonged there. Her hair was wild but intentional. Her energy was poised but free. And something about her pulled him in. He watched her longer than he meant to, trying to figure it out. What exactly made her feel so magnetic? And with every second, he found himself getting closer. It's not the hair, she said. Her voice stopped him mid-step. Omar blinked, caught off guard. What do you mean? He asked, stepping closer. She smiled, a soft dimple settling into her cheek. You're trying to figure out why you're drawn to me, she said calmly. And even though it's beautiful, it's not my hair that's pulling you in. Now he was fully locked in. She didn't just catch him staring, she understood why. Really? He asked, sliding his hands into his pockets, studying her. What is it then? I'm a witch, she said playfully, extending her hand toward him in a firm but friendly handshake. Mandreka pierced. He took her hand gently, noticing the faint ink along her fingers, tattoos that felt like stories he hadn't heard yet. You got me, he said, brushing his chin and glancing up for a second. You read minds too? I caught you staring 10 minutes ago, she teased, grabbing her suitcase. I just wanted to have a little fun with you. He laughed, but something about her answer didn't fully land as a joke. How did you know what I was thinking? He asked. She tilted her head slightly. Let's just say I have a sixth sense for energy. He stepped closer. Are you actually magical or not? Who's asking? She shot back, a hint of flirtation in her tone. The man who wants to take you to dinner. She paused, then smiled. Well, I guess he'll have to take me to dinner to find out. And just like that, he was hooked. As whatever that pull was, whatever current carried him toward her in that moment, it didn't fade. It only got stronger the closer he got to her. And Omar wondered if she felt it too. Omar got there early, 15 minutes early, which wasn't like him, but something about her had him moving different. He sat at the bar checking his phone, looking up every few seconds like he didn't want to miss her walking in. And then she did. Right on time. Mandrake walked in like she belonged there. And this time, he caught it. Her scent. Soft. Not overpowering, but it stayed with you. Sweet. With something earthy underneath it. Grounded, but feminine. Just like her. She walked past him, brushing her hand lightly across his shoulder as she took her seat. Good seeing you again, she said, that dimple showing just enough to make him stare a second too long. He smiled, leaning back slightly. So, you gonna tell me now, or you wait until we both a little tipsy so I can't run? She raised an eyebrow, amused. Tell you what. He leaned in slightly. If you putting spells on men to draw them in. Not really asking. More like calling her out. The waiter came just then. Mandrake barely broke eye contact as she ordered. I'll take the witch's brew. Extra dry ice. She gave the waiter a soft smile, then glanced back at Omar and winked. Omar let out a quiet laugh, shaking his head. Yeah, I'm in trouble. I'll take a couple shots, he added. Something dark, and whatever fish you got that's good. The waiter walked off, and for a moment, it was just them again. I don't use spells, Mandrake said, reaching for her water, but that's not the only way someone can use magic. Omar leaned in a little more. Oh, yeah? She nodded, taking a slow sip, her eyes still on him. You're different, he said, more serious now, like he was trying to figure her out and realizing he might not be able to. Mandrake tilted her head slightly, her fingers grazing her necklace. She didn't answer. She didn't deny it either. I want you, he said. And this time, it didn't sound like flirting. It sounded like a decision. He held his gaze, calm and unshaken. I can't belong to anyone, she said softly, but I can be experienced. That line? Yeah, that did something to him. I want you to be mine, he said. And just like that, he was in deeper than he planned. The drinks came, the conversation kept flowing, but at that point, it wasn't about the bar anymore. It was about the pool. And later that night, when they ended up back at her room, it wasn't rushed. It wasn't awkward. It felt like something they had already stepped into before they even got there. The kind of connection that feels intense, new, a little dangerous. The kind you don't fully understand, but you don't question either. And for Omar, that was the first time he felt it. That high, that pull, that something about her. He knew he wasn't going to shake easily. They laid together in the softness of the moment, their breaths settling and their heart rates finally slowing down. Mandrake lay on her back, eyes closed, hair wild and free around her. She breathed with intention, inhaling deeply, holding it in, then releasing it slowly, as if she were training her body to come back to stillness. Omar noticed. He watched her closely, trying to understand what she was doing. Seems relaxing, he said. Shh, she interrupted. her eyes still closed. He paused for a moment, then laid back and tried to follow her rhythm. He breathed in, held it, and released it slowly. Gradually, his body began to settle in a way that felt unfamiliar, almost sacred. Before he knew it, he had drifted off into a deep sleep. He woke to sunlight pouring softly into the room. "It is," she said. He looked up. Mandrake was standing over him, already dressed, already composed. "It's my post-orgasmic breathing exercises," she said calmly. "It helps increase serotonin, helps me sleep better, especially after sex." She handed him a towel. "The shower's waiting for you. I've got to get going." And just like that, she grabbed her bag and walked out of her room. Omar sat up slowly, confused. This wasn't how things usually went for him. He was the one who left first. He was usually gone before the sun came up, before anything had the chance to feel like something real. But this time, he had stayed. He had slept, and not just lightly, but deeply, in another woman's bed. He sat on the edge of the bed, running his hands over his face. "I told her I wanted her to be mine on the first date," he said, letting out a quiet laugh. "Who am I?" he asked out loud, as if the room might answer him. Because this wasn't like him. He was used to pretending to like women, pretending to listen, pretending to care. But with Mandrake, none of it felt like an act. Everything about her intrigued him. She had awakened something in him he didn't even know existed. He stood up suddenly, panic setting in as he gathered his clothes. Moving quickly, he dressed and rushed out of her room, heading up to his own floor. Once inside, he closed the door behind him and dropped into a chair, trying to make sense of what had just happened. He had just met a woman he already knew could make him fall, and he didn't even have her number. Just then, his phone buzzed. A message. "You'll be needing this. Wink." He laughed softly, shaking his head as he stood to make his way to the shower. But the feeling lingered, sitting quietly in the back of his mind. She was either going to be the love of his life or the lesson he would never forget. The next day, Omar was due to return home. The flight was hectic, as always. He usually did fine. It was just the turbulence that shook him. Normally, he would throw on his soothing playlist to calm his nerves, but the moment he popped his AirPods in, his phone buzzed. "The turbulence makes me nervous too," she said. "No way," he said out loud. The woman across from him shot him one of those "be quiet" looks, clearly thinking he was talking to himself. He glanced around the cabin, scanning for her, but couldn't find her anywhere. He looked back at his phone. He typed, curiosity creeping in. Before he could overthink it, he felt a light tap on his shoulder, and then her scent. He knew it instantly. The moment her fingers brushed against his jacket, he didn't need to turn around to know it was her. "I told you I don't need spells to practice magic," she said, that same devious smile playing on her lips. He turned, caught between surprise and something else he couldn't name. "What are you doing here?" he asked. She raised an eyebrow. I took a plane here, and I had to take a plane back," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "I would have driven, but it was too far." "On the same flight?" he asked. That's when her expression shifted, just slightly. It felt like he was happy to see her, but there was something else there too. Something guarded. Something that made it seem like he thought she had followed him. And she caught it. "We do work for the same company," she said, her tone tightening just a bit. The travel department booked our flights. She paused, mid-explanation, as if realizing she didn't need to explain herself at all. Then she stepped back, turned, and walked back to her seat. Omar didn't move. Didn't know how to move. The fun, flirty energy between them had turned tense, just like that. Maybe it was the turbulence. Maybe it was how strongly he felt her presence the moment she texted him. Or maybe it was something deeper. Because the part of him that wasn't used to actually liking someone, the part of him that didn't know how to sit in something real, put his guard up. And instead of just being happy to see her, he questioned it. She never came back. She didn't text again. When the plane landed, she walked off smiling, casually chatting with the woman and her child like nothing had happened, like she had never met him, like they weren't tangled up in each other the night before, like she hadn't said his name while moaning in pleasure. She passed by him without a second glance, and that landed hard. Omar just got into his Uber, his playlist already playing, trying to calm something that had nothing to do with turbulence anymore, because now he knew he was going to have to find a way to fix the mess he just made. He talked to his friends about it. Not the feelings, just the situation. Just text her, "Hey," and see what happens, Tyler said. I did. No reply. Omar replied, tossing a ball in the air, trying to shake the anxiety off. Okay, text it again, Tyler said, more forceful this time. What's the point of that? Omar asked. To make her think you care. Women go crazy for consistency. Omar wasn't buying it. He knew that sounded stupid. But what he couldn't understand was why he cared. If one woman didn't text back, he usually just texted another, moved on, kept it light. But with Mandraka, it was different. She was different. Did she block you? Tyler asked. Omar stared at the delivered stamp that had been sitting there for almost a week. Not yet, he said. That means she just needs a little more time, Tyler replied, handing him a bottle of water as he noticed Omar had gone quiet. You like her? Tyler asked. It sounded like a question, but it felt like a statement. I never seen you this affected by one girl, bro. Woman. Omar corrected. She's a woman. He paused for a second. I don't know. I just like the sex, he added, trying to brush it off, trying to shake whatever it was Tyler was picking up on. Well, offer to take her to dinner or some shit like that, Tyler said. Just don't let her know you care or she'll do more of this. Omar nodded, and they shared a quick moment of understanding, sealing it with a fist bump. But he sat there, slowly peeling at the label on the water bottle, his mind drifting back to her, because it did get to him, and he couldn't ignore that. But what if it did get to me a little? He asked finally, glancing up at Tyler, almost like he was asking for a way out of it. Tyler looked at him, a hint of pity in his eyes, and shook his head. Then you're fucked. Omar let out a quiet breath. Yeah, fucked felt about right, because that was the feeling that had been sitting with him ever since he left the airport. For a while, he was okay. It started small. Just flashes of her smile, quick thoughts of her when a woman passed by wearing a similar fragrance. Nothing too loud, nothing he couldn't ignore. But then it got a little bigger. Text notifications made his heart race, only for it to drop the moment he saw it wasn't her. Thoughts of them being together, intimate, close, kept him up at night. He couldn't look at a drink without thinking about the night at the bar, the way she looked at him, the way she spoke. And then it got loud. His work days became saturated with her. He found himself scrolling through her Facebook, staring at her pictures, replaying her videos. He found her on Apple Music and lingered in her playlist, adding her songs to every list he had. like that would somehow bring him closer to her. He even caught himself searching through the company directory just to find her contact, while he was supposed to be following up with clients. "What's happening to me?" he asked quietly, sitting at his desk, thumbing through her Facebook like he always did at lunchtime, staring at the same picture he had been looking at for weeks. These feelings for Mandreka were strong and unfamiliar. He couldn't explain them. Infatuation, lust, or love. He didn't know, but one thing he knew would work. He closed his eyes and whispered to the universe, "Please, give me a sign if this is something real. And if it is, I'll never let her go again." He sat there for a moment, letting the words settle, convincing himself that whatever came next would either pull him deeper or close it all together. But right now, he needed air. He stepped outside, trying to clear his head, trying to get away from the thoughts, from the sound of her voice that lingered in his mind, from the presence she left behind that refused to leave him. The cold wind hit his face the moment he walked out. And that's when he saw her. Mandreka was entering the building with a friend. As soon as their eyes met, a butterfly landed on her shoulder. "Oh," she said softly, her voice lighting up with excitement. "You're so beautiful." She gently lifted the butterfly with her finger, moving it from her shoulder to her hand, admiring it like it was something sacred. She didn't acknowledge him, didn't break her moment, like he wasn't even there, like they hadn't shared anything at all. She released the butterfly, watching it flutter away, then continued into the building with her friend. And just like that, she was gone again. Omar didn't follow her, but he didn't let it go either. He walked back inside, went straight to the front desk, asking just enough questions to get what he needed: her department, her role, her office location. "Big mistakes call for big solutions," he muttered to himself, and just like that, he made a decision. He placed an order with the florist that handled arrangements for the company. An oversized bouquet, roses, calla lilies, something that couldn't be ignored, something that said he wasn't done. Mandreka was in her office, focused, moving through her work as she chatted with her favorite receptionist. It felt like a normal day, calm, grounded, until it wasn't. She looked up and saw him, a well-dressed man walking toward her side of the building, holding an oversized bouquet that didn't belong in a workspace like this. She blinked once, stunned for just a moment. Then, slowly, a smile began to form. Not surprised, not overwhelmed, just aware. The receptionist saw it before Mandreka did. I think that's for you," the receptionist said, half smiling, half curious. Mandreka looked up slowly, and there it was. Too much to ignore, too intentional to be accidental. She just watched him approach, taking in the details the way she always did. Posture, pace, eyes. He was trying to make a statement. He reached her desk and stopped, setting the bouquet down carefully, like it mattered where it landed. "For you," he said. Simple, controlled. But there was something underneath it, something urgent. Mandreka glanced at the flowers, then back at him. "They're beautiful," she said. A small pause. "Are they an apology or an announcement?" That landed. He let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. "Both," he admitted. "I messed up on the plane. I shouldn't have come at you like that." She studied him for a second, not reacting too quickly, not giving him relief too easily. "I didn't take it personal," she said. "I just adjusted." It meant she moved accordingly. It meant she protected her energy without making it a moment. He nodded, stepping a little closer, lowering his voice. "I don't want you to adjust away from me." There it was, the push. Mandreka felt it, but she didn't step back. "I won't," she said calmly, as long as there's something to move toward. The line sat between them, clear, not rejecting him, but not giving him what he wanted either. He swallowed, then tried again, softer this time. Dinner, tonight. Let me do it right. A small smile touched her lips, not quite acceptance, not quite refusal. You move fast, she said. I don't want to miss you, he replied. And for a second, just a second, something in her shifted. That was the high. She picked up one of the calla lilies, turned it slightly in her hand, thinking. Then she set it back down. That's not how this works with me, she said. You don't get to rush a moment just because you felt something strong. There it was, the drop. His jaw tightened slightly, but he held it together. I'm not rushing it, he said. I'm choosing it. She met his eyes. And I'm pacing it, she replied. Silence. Not awkward, just real. He nodded slowly, like he understood, even if he didn't like it. Tomorrow, she said finally. Not tonight. And no more grand gestures in my workplace, she added, glancing at the bouquet. That almost made him smile. Fair, he said. She looked back at her screen, already returning to herself, already pulling her energy back just enough. You can go now, she said gently, not dismissive, just done with the moment. He lingered for half a second longer, like he wanted to say something. Then he didn't. He turned and walked away, and for the first time since he met her, he felt it, that quiet shift. He didn't have control here. And somehow, that only made him want her more. The next evening felt different. Not rushed, not heavy, just intentional. Omar got there early again, but this time he didn't feel anxious. He felt focused, like he had something to prove. Not to her, but to himself. When Mandraka walked in, she didn't look around. She already knew where he was. Her eyes found him instantly, and for the first time since the airport, her smile lingered just a little longer. On time? She said as she approached. Early, he corrected. She tilted her head slightly. Of course you are. There was a softness in her tone this time. Not giving, but not withholding either. He stood, pulling her chair out for her. She noticed, but didn't make a moment of it. Thank you, she said, taking her seat. Dinner started easy. Conversation flowed the way it had at the bar. Natural, layered, a little playful. He listened more this time. Really listened. Not waiting to speak. Not trying to impress. She noticed that too. And she rewarded it. Not with words, but with her presence. She leaned in a little more, held eye contact a little longer, let her guard down just enough to let him feel like he was getting closer. That was the high. This feels better, she said at one point, almost to herself. And he caught it. Better than what? He asked. Better than being rushed, she replied calmly. He nodded, taking that in. I'm trying, he said. I can tell, she answered. And for a moment, they were aligned. But Omar couldn't leave it there. That feeling, that closeness, it made him want more. So, what are we doing? He asked. It came out softer than before, but it still shifted the air. There it was, the crack. Mandraka didn't answer right away. She reached for her glass, taking a slow sip, buying herself a moment. We're here, she said finally. That's what we're doing. He let out a quiet breath, a hint of frustration slipping through. You know that's not what I mean. I know. Silence sat between them for a second. Not loud, but noticeable. "You always this guarded?" he asked, trying to sound light, but it didn't fully land. She met his eyes. "You always this impatient," she replied. That landed clean. He leaned back slightly, running his hand over his jaw. "I just don't like feeling like I'm guessing," he said. "You're not guessing," she said. "You're just not controlling it." That one hit deeper than she intended, or maybe exactly how she intended. He looked at her, really looked at her this time. This wasn't going to be easy, and somehow that made him want her even more. Mandrake felt the shift too, felt his intensity rising again, so she softened just a little. "Eat your food," she said, a small smile returning. And just like that, the tension eased. Not gone, just managed. And that's how the night went. High, low, high again. Neither of them realizing they were already building something they didn't fully know how to hold. Time moved quietly between them. They fell into a rhythm without ever naming it. Nights together when her kids were away, easy laughter, familiar touches, dinners that turned into long conversations and conversations that turned into mornings. They moved like a couple without ever saying they were one. And for a while, that worked. That night felt like all the others, soft, intimate, comfortable. They lay in her bed, the room lit only by the moonlight pouring in through the window. The air was still, the kind of stillness that comes after a moment that didn't need words. Mandrake lay beside him, calm as ever, her breathing steady, her presence grounded. Omar stared at the ceiling for a moment, then let his eyes wander. That's when he saw them, pictures, framed neatly along the wall. Her kids. He sat up slightly, his gaze lingering longer than he expected it to. Something in him shifted. He had never cared about this part before. Never thought about who a woman was outside of how she made him feel in the moment. But this was different. He found himself imagining it. Mandrake as a mother, her softness, her discipline, the way she carried herself. He could see it. And for the first time, he wanted to be a part of it. The thought felt unfamiliar, almost wrong, but it didn't leave. "You have beautiful kids," he said quietly. Mandrake turned her head slightly, following his gaze. "Thank you," she replied. A pause settled between them. He hesitated. He knew he shouldn't ask. He felt it. But he asked anyway. "I'd like to meet them one day." Silence. Not uncomfortable, just still. Mandrake sat up slowly, pulling the sheet around her, her expression unchanged but her energy shifting, grounded, present. "That's not where we are," she said calmly. Omar frowned slightly, confusion creeping in. "I thought—" He started, then stopped. "You thought what?" she asked. He exhaled. "I thought this was something serious." Mandrake studied him for a moment, not rushing her response. "We're enjoying each other," she said. "That's what this is." "That's not serious to you?" he asked. "Not the way you're thinking," she replied. He sat up, more now, the shift fully settling in. "We spend nights together, we talk, we connect. That doesn't mean anything?" "It means something," she said, "but that's not how something serious starts." Her tone wasn't harsh, just clear. "Sex, dinner, and occasional deep conversations? That's not a foundation. That's an experience." That landed. Hard. Omar sat there quiet, because for the first time he realized something. She wasn't going to fall into place just because he felt something. She was intentional, and if he wanted more, he would have to become something more. He leaned back slowly, running his hand over his face. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I hear you." Mandrake watched him for a moment, reading him the way she always did. Then she softened, just slightly. "Doesn't mean we can't get there," she added, "but it won't look like this when we do." Another pause settled between them. That was the high, but what sat underneath it, that was the truth. And Omar could feel it now. This wasn't something he could control, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't know what to do with that. Omar had to sit with it. That idea that an experience wasn't a foundation, it didn't sit right with him. Mandrake didn't move off emotion the way the woman he was used to. He couldn't tell if she was playing hard to get or if she was really this intentional, this confident, this unmoved by things that usually worked. But one thing was clear. She was different. And that only made him want her more. So he did what he always did when he didn't understand something. He researched it. He looked up ways to turn a situationship into something serious. Article after article told him the same things. Be consistent, plan intentional dates, talk about the future, create structure, show up. All things he could do. All things he had never even thought to do before. But with Mandrake, he wanted to. Naturally. So he took it up a notch. He set a standing date every Saturday night. Dinner. Time together. Consistency. He texted her every morning, checked in throughout the day, kept her updated on where he was and what he was doing. He started weaving her into conversations about the future, casually at first, then more intentionally. He got used to saying us instead of me. He even started bringing up her kids when talking about long-term plans, mentioning how he wouldn't mind stepping into that role one day. And Mandrake, she allowed it. Sometimes she even liked it, but she never matched it. "I had a dream about you," he told her one night during one of their weekly dates. She smiled, soft and flattered, waiting for him to continue. "We were getting married," he said, his voice carrying a quiet excitement. "You had on the most beautiful dress." He was still caught in it, still feeling the idea of her carrying his name, being part of something bigger with him. "That's a beautiful dream, Omar," she said kindly, flipping through the menu. A small pause. "I don't know if I would ever get married again, though." He tilted his head slightly, confused, a little thrown off, but he swallowed it. Didn't want to ruin the moment. "I understand. After what you've been through," he said, reaching for her hand. "But with us, it'll be different, baby." He rubbed her hand gently, his tone sincere. "Don't let that situation get in the way of our future." She didn't challenge him. She rubbed his hand back and gave him a small nod, but she didn't agree either. Later that night, back at her place, the room once again filled with that soft, familiar stillness, moonlight pouring in like it always did. Mandrake shifted. "Omar, you've been different," she said, sitting up, the light catching her skin, reflecting softly against her caramel tone. He smiled, leaning in, kissing her hand. "I'm switching lanes, babe," he said. "I told you when we first met. I wanted you to be mine." She looked at him. "But you never asked if I wanted to be yours," she said. The air shifted. That soft, intimate feeling from moments before tightened. "I didn't think I had to ask," he said, sitting up now, leaning back against the headboard. Mandrake squinted slightly, looking down at the bedding as she gathered her thoughts, then back at him once she found them. "I really like you, Omar. I do," she said. Her tone was calm, measured, but firm. But I told you I don't belong to anyone the day we met, she continued, and it feels like you chose to push past that and build a version of this that works for you. A fantasy, she added quietly, that feeds your ego more than anything. That landed, not loud, but deep. Omar sat there, the words settling heavier than he expected, because in his mind, he was doing everything right. But to her, he was skipping steps. They didn't talk for days after that. Omar was crushed, but he refused to admit it. He sat with everything she said, replaying it in his head, trying to make sense of how doing more somehow pushed her further away. Mandrake, on the other hand, didn't panic. She had enjoyed what they shared. She wasn't closed off to something serious, but it had to be genuine, not driven by ego, not driven by possession, not something that appeared overnight because a conversation forced it into existence, and that part didn't sit right with her. The fact that he only stepped up after she said something, it didn't feel natural. It felt reactive. His consistency faded over those few days. The text slowed down, the call stopped, the presence he had been so intentional about maintaining disappeared. Mandrake didn't chase it. She didn't question it. She continued with her life. She knew he was hurt. She hadn't intended to hurt him. But she also wasn't willing to move outside of her own pace just to make him feel secure. She had built a life she was proud of, her children, her work, her peace. And she knew letting the wrong man in again could cost her all of it. So she moved with intention, not intensity. But Omar felt different. And that was the problem. He reminded her in small ways of something she already had survived. That unpredictability, that emotional pull, that shift from calm to pressure. It made her feel unsettled. Even though she liked him, she didn't know if she could walk back into something that felt even slightly unstable. On the third night, his name finally lit up her phone. "Can we talk? I'm outside." She looked toward the hallway. Quiet. Her kids were asleep. She slipped her shoes on and stepped outside. The air was cool, still. And there he was. "How you been?" he asked, sincere, but colder than normal. "Good. Busy, but good," Mandrake replied. "I don't know how we got here," he said. "I just want to love you, Mandrake. Tell me how to do that without making you feel like I'm performing." "I never said you were performing." "You made me feel like I was doing something just because you told me to. That's far from the truth." "I do feel like you're rushing this," she said. "I don't see anything wrong with that. I know what I want." "You can't rush love, Omar," she said, her voice trembling slightly, emotion sitting just beneath the surface. "I'm not rushing anything," he shot back. "I'm asking for the parts of you, the ones you said you wanted to give me, just faster than you normally would. Isn't that what love is?" Mandrake shook her head slowly. "But you're not getting the parts that matter," she said, her voice quieter now, but deeper. "You're getting the parts that panic, the parts that cling." She swallowed. "And I don't want to give you those parts. They're desperate and they're dark." "I want every part of you, Dre," he said, stepping closer. "Even the ones that could hurt me." She let out a soft breath, almost disbelieving. "That's the problem, Omar. You don't care if it hurts." Her eyes locked onto his. "You've caused pain before. And now, just once, you want to be the one who gets hurt, the victim, so I can be the villain." His face tightened. "But I don't want to be that part of your story," she continued. "I'm asking you for time, and you keep refusing me the space I need to choose you." His jaw flexed. "It's been 6 months," he said, frustration rising. "You're the only woman I've been dealing with before we even had a conversation about being exclusive, and you're still holding back?" I'm making sure I don't give you the wrong parts of me at the wrong time, she snapped, her tone finally breaking through her calm. That should be what you want too. Silence hit, heavy, sharp. If I can't have the parts of you that matter, he said, his voice turning cold, then I don't want any of them. That landed, hard. Her face twisted, hurt, flashing into anger. Are you breaking up with me? She asked, her voice tight, controlled. Barely. You can call it that. He shrugged. You're so damn guarded, I'm surprised you even care. That did it. Mandrake went still, arms folded, breathing shallow, tears collecting but not falling. I love you, Omar, she said, her voice steady now, almost too steady. But it's not my job to protect your self-worth every time I set a boundary. A pause. You are fragile as hell. He scuffed, but it didn't land the way he wanted it to. Well, leave my fragile ass alone then. She looked at him, long. That look, the one that quietly asks, are you sure? He felt it, out of the corner of his eye. But instead of turning toward her, he fixed his gaze on the rose bush across the yard like it suddenly mattered more than she did. Like choosing pride was easier than choosing her. But inside, he felt it pulling at him. Felt her. Felt the space between them stretching too far, too fast. The moment the words left his mouth, he regretted them. He didn't mean it. But when things got real, Omar had always chosen easy. And right now, walking it back felt harder than letting her go. Mandrake didn't argue. She didn't beg, didn't raise her voice. She just turned and walked back inside. The door closed softly behind her. Not slammed, not dramatic, just final. Omar waited, a few seconds at first, then longer, thinking she'd come back out, tell him he was being stupid, reassure him. But she didn't. And standing there, in the quiet he created, Omar felt it all at once. Maybe he did deserve for her to give up on him. But at the same time, he didn't want her to.
I'll be missing you, love. Yeah, I'll be missing you, love. And the good times that we had, I'll be missing you, love. I'll be missing you and your love, your love, your love. When I think of you and the two of us together, it felt so good for so long. It was you and me forever. Now you walk away, maybe for the better. So tell me something true. Will you miss my love? Will you miss my love? All the good times that we had. Will you miss my love? Will you miss me and my love, my love, my love? When I see you again, I wanna show you how I loved you. You were my one true friend, and I cherish every moment I got to spend with you. I have so much inside of me, I wanna tell you something true. I've been missing you, love. Yeah, I've been missing you, love. All the good times that we had, I've been missing you, love. good times that we had. I'm still missing your love. I'm still missing you and your love, your love, your love.